Hey guys, welcome back to Dislyte. In today's video, we're going to be going through my top 5 units in the game. We've already done 4 stars and 3 stars. I'll leave those in the description if you want to check those ones out. But today, we're looking at those sweet, juicy 5 stars, the yellow that everyone wants when they summon, and the ones that you can get completely hyped about when you do actually pull for them. So we're going to go through my 5. We will do some honorable mentions as well, but let's get into it. We're just going to go in order that they appear on this screen because it's not in any particular order. But the first one is going to be TA or TA, however you want to say it. I always suck at names, so we'll get used to that. So just pulled this one on my free-to-play account. I'm super hyped. Absolutely amazing unit. Kick it off. Leader skill, 25 speed everywhere. Best speed leader skill in the game. Absolutely amazing. Fastest one at all. So this one's 25. The next best you can get is like 20 as general, and then it's like the fastest lead you can get in arena is 25 at the moment. So she's the fastest lead, which really helps for arena, but she's also good everywhere else as well. So we've got this ability. I absolutely love this ability. Deals damage equal to 105% of attack to all enemies while redistributing 30% of the target's AP equally among teammates. So this is an amazing one for PvP, because in PvP it's always nice to reduce enemies turn gauge, but there's always that chance you get resisted, they have immunity, all these sorts of things. But this not only reduces it, but based on what it reduces and the enemies it hits, it's also going to increase your teammates' turn bars, which is very reliable. So sometimes in PvP, if you're trying to say reduce the enemy team's turn gauge so that you can move first, if one of them resists, it can throw off your whole thing. However, with this strategy, it's got a bit of leeway, because with this one, if the key unit that you wanted to reduce resists, but you hit the other units, that's then going to give that to your allies and allow them to leapfrog anyway. So it's not relying on one thing. It's got 2 sides to it, which I really love. It's an absolutely amazing gauge stealing ability for your team. And then we have this one, deals damage and inflicts speed slow, AoE, and then also has a 60% chance of inflicting stun for 1 turn. So AoE speed down with 100% activation and stun with a 60% activation. Not too bad on a 3-turn cooldown. Then the basic ability, we've got a chance to absorb 20% of their AP. This is always a nice ability. So she's going to be an absolute beast of a unit in tower, basically, the speed leader, along with all this control, is huge. Tower, cube, all that sort of stuff. And like I said, in arena, absolutely amazing for like cleave teams. Not even cleave teams. If you just put her fast and they don't have immunity relics on, everyone goes first and you dominate. So she's an absolute beast. Love this unit. So glad I pulled her. We will have some fun with her over on the free-to-play account in the future. But that is TA. Now, next one on the list we're going to look at is Hyde or Hades. I love this guy. I pulled him on my soft launch server, but then sort of global was coming, so I never actually got around to playing with him too much on that server. But this guy's passive is just so huge. We'll kick it off with the passive. He's immune to buffs and debuffs and takes 10% reduced damage from all sources. Grants a stack of this buff per attempt to buff or debuff him. Grants 10 Breath of the Deep stacks upon the death of an ally. He can get up to 50 stacks. When taking the first deadly hit in battle, Hyde survives and restores HP based on the current Breath of the Deep stacks, restoring 1% per stack. Now, the other cool thing about this is it doesn't consume the stacks. He keeps the stacks, he just gets that HP. And then when we look at Breath of the Deep, it's undispellable and grants 5% attack per stack. Remember, stacks up to 50 times. It's a lot of attack increase. And 3% damage reduction per 10 stacks, up to 50 stacks. Now, we already get the base 10% reduction, but then we also get an extra 3% per 10, so we can get that extra 3% 5 times. So we can get up to a 25% damage mitigation through this ability and incredibly high damage scaling. So, like I said, this ability is like a massive passive. Obviously, you can't get buffs, but he can't get debuffs either. And if you stack this thing right up, he's going to be taking such little damage. He's going to have such high attack. You put him on some Hades relics, which steal life off the enemies, and you're going to be stealing a lot. But that's not where it finishes, because his other abilities are sick too. This one steals 1 buff from each enemy and deals damage to all enemies equal to 110% attack, converts 30% of the damage dealt into healing. So like I said, you want to put Hades on him ideally so he can keep healing. But you know, he also gets an extra bit of healing from this ability anyway. On top of that, he gets the steal buff. So the steal buff works in 2 ways, because 1, it's removing a buff from your enemy. 2, it's trying to apply it to him. He won't get the buff, but he will get stacks of his passive, which is what you want. So nice AoE there. And keep in mind, once you've got this stacked like 50 times and he's gaining 5% attack per stack and he's got 250% extra attack, he's going to hit like a truck. Then we got this one. Attacks an enemy twice, each dealing damage equal to 65% of attack while stealing 2 buffs and reducing the target's HP ceiling by 100% of the damage dealt by this attack. So that HP ceiling damage is actually really, really frustrating. So you got to get that on top of the damage. Like, it's really nice. Plus, completely stripping all buffs. Like, you know, if they got more than 4 buffs and you're not stripping them all, okay. But, you know, he's stealing a lot of buffs. And this guy is just an absolute savage. Solo content, arena, everything. He just doesn't care about anything. And it's just like, you know, if you get unlucky and someone nukes him, yeah, he goes, oh, I'll sit back up at 50%. And, you know, you probably won't kill me again. I'll just do an AoE, top myself off. Absolute beast. Also, probably one of the best designs in the game, in my opinion. I love his Cerberus. Looks absolutely savage. Just an all-round beast. Hades, I so hope I pull. It's like the next guy I want to pull. It's just, I love these sorts of like characters with some massive cheese about them. So hopefully I can get him, but that is Hades. Moving on from that, the next one that I want to look at is going to be Unus. So this guy is a shimmer. Keep that in mind. He is a shimmer. Very hard to get. If you do get him, massive grats. Now, I believe he's the fastest gauge booster in the game. I could be wrong. You know, TA, you could say, is a gauge booster, but you've got to have enemies without immunity for it to boost, so I don't consider it a raw boost. But this guy, what have we got? We got deals damage to all enemies, and it scales based on speed, and then increases team's turn gauge by 30%. And it's only on a 3-turn cooldown, which is really nice for AoE damage plus that. So then we go into his passive. So I'll talk about this in a sec, but then we go into his passive. And if he's not immobile at the end of the turn, grants immunity for 1 turn to all teammates. Grants 1 haste at the end of an enemy's turn, max 3 stacks. Haste stacks will be dispelled after launching an attack. So basically what this is saying is, at the end of his turn, if he's not stunned, frozen, or slept, or petrified, I think that's all the immobile. Yeah. If he's not one of those, his whole team gets immunity at the end of his turn. So he's super fast, which means, and he boosts his team's gauge. So he's super fast, and, you know, he's going to go turn 1. So when we look at his speed, he's 106 base. I believe he gets 7 from Awakening, which brings him to like 113 speed. I think something like Dahlia is like 102 speed and gets 10. So I think she's like 112 with Awakening. So he's just a little bit faster than Dahlia. But he essentially gives you turn gauge with some damage, but also with the immunity, which is huge. Now, this haste thing is just ridiculous. So when enemies take a turn, he gets a stack, and if they get 3 turns in a row, so say you make your whole team go first because he's used this ability, then your enemy starts having turns, and then they'll go 1, 2, 3, and this is giving him 30 speed points per stack. So if 3 enemies attack in a row, he then has 90 extra speed. Then when he does an attack, which is going to come around pretty quick because he's got that much speed, he's going to just lose a stack of it, and then he's going to get it back when the enemies attack again. So he's just super quick, and he just like cycled through his turn ridiculously. And for any content in the game, when he can come around on a 3-turn cooldown and get this gauge boost, when he's getting like a 90 speed boost, and you're gearing him for speed anyway, he's an absolute savage. Then we have his basic attack, attacks an enemy 3 times, each dealing damage equal to 35% plus speed scaling. And a 60% chance to inflict defense down for 2 turns. This is absolutely savage in my opinion. If you've got him, massive grats, one of the best units in the game, no doubt. And he's a shimmer, so he's extra rare, so you get that extra satisfaction when you do pull him. So that is Unus. Next up, we're going to look at Clara. Now, Clara is another solo beast. She's a slow solo beast, but she can solo stuff. But she's just like all around, probably one of the best supports in the game, if not the best support in the game. Let's take a look at the skills. Boosts team-wide AP by 20% and recovers 35% of max HP on a 4-turn cooldown. It's just a solid, let's heal. If anyone played Summoner's War, it's your light Inugami. It's that sort of thing. You heal and you gain some gauge. So I don't think it's as strong as the Inugami, which was the 3-star in Summoner's War, but you know, it's a good ability. It's just a reliable ability. Next up, the passive. Removes 2 debuffs when granting healing effects to an ally, or grants immunity for 1 extra turn if the target has no debuffs. At the same time, 120% of overflow healing is converted into a shield. So basically, what it's saying is when she heals them, she's going to give them the immunity, which is nice. So when we look at this, obviously her 3rd skill, which heals, she's going to be granting that through that. So really nice. But the cool thing about this passive is the way her 1st skill works, which is attacks an enemy twice, dealing damage equal to 110% of attack, heals 2 allies with the lowest HP for 5% of their max HP. So we're going to then trigger this ability, which is super nice. So she's got the immunity, she's got the heals, she's got the turn gauge boosting. She just cycles through really well. And if you need, she's got a point more defense by 40%, which in some tanky teams, I can see that being relevant. So just an all-round, just solid support that, like, I don't think there's a situation where she's bad. Like, she's just like, if you pull her, it's like you don't have to worry about supports. Like, she's just really well set for general play in everything. So before we get into the final unit, I just wanted to highlight Gabrielle and Lucas. They're both really top units, like both amazing units, but because we all get them for free, I didn't want to put them on the list. Like I said at the start, this is like when you're summoning, you're getting these units and you're like, yes, that is the unit that I wanted. So not putting them on the list, but they are fantastic nonetheless. Now, I was considering putting Sally on this list. Big shout out to Sally. She's just a really strong healer with some really unique skills that I absolutely love, but she's kind of like Clara. If you pull one of these two, you're really sort of set for your healing going forward, and you know, you're pretty cruisy. But because we just went through Clara, I didn't want to put Sally on, so I wanted to go someone a bit unique. Now, Raven, who I pulled, I absolutely love, but more niche to PvP in the use, in my opinion. She strips and does defense break at the same time. It's absolutely amazing ability. I love Raven, but like I said, I wanted to look at someone a bit different for this list. So I wanted to look at Donar or Thor. Now, this guy is an absolute beast for like tanky teams, tanky arena teams. He is a massive threat whenever you see him on the board. So I wanted to go through his skills because they're quite unique. So I wanted to go through this. So his passive enters conductor mode for 1 turn upon the end of each turn and deals damage equal to 110% of defense to all enemies at the beginning of the next turn. 1 stack of Thunder Blessing is applied when attacked while in conductor mode. Immobilization removes conductor mode. When an active ability triggers a crit, reduce the cooldown of Thundercrack by 1 turns. Now, it's a long ability description, and this is a passive with a cooldown. So passive with a cooldown are kind of a little bit confusing sometimes. But basically what we have here, the Thunder Blessing, because it explains what conductor is. Thunder Blessing increases defense by 20% upon receiving damage, and it stacks up to 5 times. So with this, at the end of his turn, he's going to get this conductor buff. And then every time he receives damage, he's going to get Thunder Blessing, which increases his defense, which is going to make him stronger because he's going to be, you know, getting defense up. So he's harder to kill, but it's also going to increase that damage because his damage is going to scale on his defense. So, you know, if you stack this all the way up, you're dealing double the damage, which is huge. Like, he's going to deal massive AoE damage based on his defense and take no damage. Now, like I said, the thing you want to do here is immobilize him so that he loses that effect. However, the other thing about this is when an active ability triggers a critical, it reduces the cooldown on this. So when it says after every turn he goes into this mode, it's not every turn because it has a cooldown. So there will be 2 turns in between where you don't go into this mode. However, if you crit on the next ability that you use, or if you've got him on revenge or something and he crits, then that's going to make him activate this sooner because he's reducing that cooldown. So that's his passive. It's a bit confusing just to explain, but it's a massive AoE when he stacks both of these, and he deals that defense-based damage. Then we have this one. Deals damage to an enemy equal to 80% of attack plus 140% of defense and grants defense up and immunity for 2 turns. So immobilization is his sort of Achilles heel, but he gives himself an immunity here, which is really nice. Then we have his basic ability. Deals damage to an enemy equal to 30% of attack plus 70% of defense, and has a 75% chance of inflicting attack down for 2 turns. So once again, the big thing on this one is that it also includes defense scaling. I always hate in games when you get characters where they have like 2 abilities, defense scaling, and then the final ability, attack scaling. They haven't done this here. Everything is defense scaling. He's got a defense leader skill, and he can hit like an absolute truck. And he's one of those units I just want to look through because he's so unique, and I really like the play style. And like I said, if you see him in like tower, in cube, he's always a massive threat, and you know it once he nukes you a couple times with that AoE passive. You're like, okay, I've really got to try and lock this guy down. But that is Donar. So Donar, I don't know how to say it. Once again, I suck with names, but we'll get through it. So that is going to be my top 5. There's like the other 5 stars, once again, not to say they're horrible. I just tried to narrow it down to a list of 5. That is my 5. Let me know your 5. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.